All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Administration and Public Works Committee meeting for Tuesday, May 2nd. I want to welcome everyone to our meeting. Hope you're all having a great day here, and we're going to get started with our roll call.
Good evening, Chair Garitano,
Here?
Councilmember Bertolino,
Here.
Councilmember Clark, here, Councilmember Edens, Councilmember Farmer,
Here.
Councilmember Nan, here, Councilmember Hopper. Is he here via Zoom?
I do not see him, right?
Okay, and Councilmember Jaxie.
Here.
And also attending, we have Rick Brown, Director of Public Works, Thomas Lee, Interim City Administrator, and I'm Michelle Scheer, the meeting recorder. And thanks, Dan, for working the tech angle down there.
Thank you. All right, well, we're going to get started. Next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes for the April 11th, 2023 meeting. If there's a motion for approval of the minutes, made by Councilmember Farmer, seconded by Councilmember Jaxie. Any questions or comments on the minutes? Councilmember Clark.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm remembering correctly or not, but it seems like somewhere in Robert's rules, I looked through the book and I couldn't find this again, but I thought if we were to change locations, that it had to be documented in the minutes. Should we document that we go to the other room, to the community room for executive session?
Trying to think if that's something that we've documented for. I don't believe that would be the case. We'd be consistent across the board. Right? Is that your thought as well?
Yes, and I may be wrong, but I think that we should be documenting that we have moved location.
Okay, so what we could do is maybe we'll just verify with the city attorney. And if there's no objection with that, we'll go ahead and make that update in there. That closed session took place in the community room. So thank you for that suggestion, but I do like that. I think that makes sense. All right. So any other questions or comments? All right. Thank you. And welcome to Councilmember Hopper. So with that motion on the floor, all those in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone oppose or abstain? All right. The minutes are approved. All right. The next item on the agenda then we're going to move into is public participation. So this is a time now where any attendees that are either in the room here or online, if they do wish to speak, please make sure if you haven't already filled out a speaker card and you give it to Michelle. But now we would invite you to come up if you'd like to speak. And if we have anyone online, the public. Okay. Do you have any cards?
I have one, Susan Piazza.
Okay, please come on up and just make sure when you state your name and address just for the record, and we give 3 minutes for, I'm sorry, 5 minutes for public comment. Sorry.
We won't need that much.
No, three is St. Louis County. That's why.
Yeah, it is St. Louis County.
We give you more. We give you 2 more.
Susan Piazza, Manager Municipal Sales for Republic Services. Our work address is 12976 St. Charles Rock Road, Bridgeton, Missouri. Myself and Joey Dunlap, our General Manager, just want to address the committee this evening and thank you for your time and your consideration. And really, there's, I know, a lot of review ahead of you, but really, I just want to highlight, when we came and met with Joe, Thomas, and Rick, they're looking for a long-term partner for the city of Wildwood, and we're that company. And I want to emphasize that. I have provided the gentleman with a list of our contracts, and I'll just highlight the ones, the cities, narrow it down to ones we've been in for over 20 consecutive years, and this is for residential service. City of St. Charles, City of Chesterfield, City of Baldwin, Richmond Heights, St. John, and Olivet. And we currently are managing 42 contracts, and also we're just awarded 2 more as well. that went to bid, and so that would be the city of Pagedale. We just started the month of April, and we were also recently awarded the city of Pasadena Park that will start July 1. So we like going after new business, and we go for it for long term. So I just want to emphasize our commitment and how we partner with the cities. And you're working with the right hauler here.
Thank you. I just wanted to formally introduce myself. I've met a few of you. Joey Dunlap, General Manager for the St. Louis market. I look forward to the opportunity of working with you. And to Susan's point, long-term partnership has been our specialty. It's what we do, and we're very good at it. So, for us, a different kind of waste environmental service experience. We're certainly the company, and we've provided a breadth of resources there and people that you can call and ask about the type of services that we do provide. We will never jump ship on you. We're here for the long haul. So thank you very much for the opportunity, and look forward to working with each of you.
Thank you. Michelle, anything else? Or just,
That's the only card I received.
all right. And then we'll check one more time online if we have any guests. Okay, well then with that, we'll close out public participation. And then we do have a couple of items for tonight's agenda. So I'm going to look to our interim city administrator and director of public works just for their thoughts. I know we have some folks here in the room regarding the 4 action item, which is in regards to the solid waste agreement. But thinking that the information update on accessibility and then the update on deer management are those quick items that you think we'll be able to get through? They look like they're both for information. So why don't we just go through those and then we'll dive into the 4 action item. So first item is under administration for information update on accessibility. Member Clark.
Yes, I just have a quick question for Mr. Brown about the city, the building here with the elevator that's been out of order for a couple of months. Do we have a timeline for putting it back in operation, and a root cause for the problem? What is the delay? Is it parts or budget? And how long do we have to repair according to the ADA accessibility standards, chapter 407?
Thank you, council member. Just to give you a brief overview. So the issue that happened, we do not know for sure what caused the elevator to go out. We do think it might be tied to one of the issues where the power went out here at town hall for a duration of around 3 hours. And I think that was back in February, I believe. But we believe that might have had something to do with it. But there was a specific part. We had to reach out to a contractor to fix it. They came out, and to access let's just make it simple, the brain of the elevator that makes it work, they had to get another part to access that piece to see what actually was wrong with it. That took a couple weeks for that to come in because all these parts are very specialized. Once that did come in, they did realize that there is a pretty large problem that has very large budgetary impact. And what we'll have to do is we will have to go out to bid, and we'll be bringing that to council. We just got it literally about 2 days ago, so it won't be on this agenda, but it'll be coming up soon. Let's just say that we're working on getting an RFP put together for that. As for the ADA standards, I could take that into advisement and take a look into it further. Thank you.
Anything else? All right, next item is under for information is the update on deer management under Public Works.
Council members, Chair Garitano, I was going to quickly address the deer management where we're at. We do have former Sergeant Brad Wendling on board. We were able to get his agreement signed, and so he's technically on board to help us out on a part-time basis with that topic in the coming months. And the second thing that we did is we did meet last week, I think Friday perhaps, with White Buffalo over Zoom. So we did have a nice discussion with their folks and presented them again that we would like to have a proposal in hand, and I mentioned possibly by June 1st. However, I would say one of the things that came out of that meeting was that we really need to follow up again with Aaron Shank and the Department of Conservation and make sure that we're on the same page moving forward. They have some concerns that they want to discuss with NDC relative to how soon that they will allow the mating process to start before the sharpshooting begins. And with the archery season extending later into January, they just need clarity relative to how much time they're going to be able to have to actually do the effort to do the sharpshooting. So we're going to arrange a meeting hopefully with MDC here in May, probably after May 15th. And hopefully, based on that meeting, be able to get a proposal out of White Buffalo to present to you, hopefully as soon as June 1st, but we'll see. It depends on how that meeting with MDC goes. Another thing that came out of that discussion with White Buffalo was, and actually Thomas and I haven't talked about this, but it was suggested that we should probably staff should meet with the folks at DePere to get a download on how their sharpshooting went. And so I was definitely thinking that would be a good idea. So we're going to reach out to DePere here shortly, try to arrange that meeting sometime, hopefully in May as well. And then we can report back for sure on that meeting to y'all in June. So that's, I think, the main highlights as far as where we're at. I guess at this point, if there's any questions, I'd be glad to entertain them. Or if there are any comments that y'all have, that would be fine.
Councilmember Jackson.
Rick, I just don't remember, what is our timeline to be able to make this happen in time for the deer season so we don't miss it again? Can you just, I honestly can't remember. So.
Well, I guess my thought was that if we are able to bring something to you this summer, we should be fine to take it to council. We're going to be doing the mid-year budget adjustment. Usually that occurs in July. I guess it's late July, early August, thereabouts. So at that point, we would certainly be looking at the budget implications, potentially have that proposal in hand to know what the dollar implications are, and then could follow that through council. The one discussion that we did have is that it does take time to get property owner agreements in place. So the sooner we can get them under contract, and we can start working on some of those details, getting the property owners identified and then have agreements in hand, the better. So if we can start working on that this summer, that's probably a good idea. So yeah, if we can get a proposal from them by June 1st, I think that would be in line with that schedule.
All right, any other questions or comments regarding? Okay, thank you, Rick. Great, so we will move on to the for action item under Public Works, which is the solid waste license agreement. So there is a document that's attached to this. So I'll first defer to our interim city administrator and director of Public Works, share any updates which are related to the document that's published here, and certainly anything that we can continue to have an open discussion. I do know that there is some discussion that will need to take place regarding potential contract, and so that would fall under closed session. So we'll go into closed session at that appropriate time under the proper section of the law. So I'll hand it over to you now to discuss the updates that you can share.
Thank you, Chair Garitano, council members. So this evening, we have presented to you additional information relative to the our request and search for a solid waste hauler that would commence on August 1st. But previously, I think you're aware, we had a proposal or a request for a proposal that was on the street, and we did receive one response to that. That was from Meridian, and that information, I believe, was provided to you essentially at a prior meeting. So tonight, we still have the same proposal from Meridian on the table for consideration. The information that was provided has not changed from that perspective. It's still the same proposal from Meridian, but we have added to that. We have negotiated with Republic Services and with Gateway Disposal on an alternate proposal for your consideration that has been presented to you in the packet of information that was attached to the agenda. The unique part of this alternate proposal is that it would split the city essentially in two, and we would have two haulers operating if we went that direction. So after discussions with haulers, there wasn't a lot of enthusiasm towards Republic to take over the whole city. Their preference was to maintain or provide services in the traditional suburban areas, those higher density, small lot subdivisions, not the non-urban rural areas of the city that are lower density, that have more challenging routes essentially. So that's the second proposal, is a proposal that would include Republic Services and Gateway Disposal. And Gateway is represented here with Chuck Barcom, who is familiar to many of us here in Wildwood because Chuck was with Meridian before they changed ownership, and Chuck is very familiar with our rural areas. So Gateway Disposal has put a proposal together to service the rural areas, the non-urban areas. A lot of that is Ward 1, Ward 6, but not exclusively those two wards. The split is about 8,700 homes that would be served by Republic in the smaller lot, higher density areas, and about 2,500 that would be served by Gateway in the rural areas of the city. We've provided the pricing that has been proposed by Republic Services and Gateway Disposal in the packet of information. If you'd like me to go through that, I can certainly do that as well. Essentially, they are also proposing a 5-year agreement, which is consistent with Meridian, although Meridian is proposing an additional 5-year, or excuse me, additional 1-year extension on top of that, but basically a 5-year term for either choice. And essentially, we're also changing over to automated collection with Republic Services / Gateway Disposal as well as Meridian. So in either instance, the idea would be residents would be given a cart, a 65-gallon recycling cart and 95-gallon trash cart or container, and materials would have to be placed within those approved containers for collection by the haulers. So there's no difference in that regard. The main difference between the two is the fact we would have two haulers under Republic Gateway Disposal, or one with Meridian, obviously. That's the biggest single difference. And obviously the pricing is different between the proposals that we received of those haulers. So I think at this point I can turn it over. Thomas, do you have anything you want to add that I've left off?
I think you did a great job there, Mr. Brown. I just wanted to quickly add that, we put out this RFP and we did receive I wouldn't call it necessarily a response. It was unresponsive because it did not fulfill the needs of the RFP in itself. So that is why we rejected any and all proposals. But I do think Mr. Brown did a great job at summarizing that, and we are available for any questions. Thank you.
Okay, again, see if there's any questions, and then if there's something that will be related to an item for closed session, we'll certainly make you aware of it. Councilmember Bertolino.
Yeah, a quick one, Rick. Are there any provisions, if we go to the automatic container, we talked before about, there are some households that due to handicaps or whatever would have difficulty getting that kind of container to their pickup point, and they pay extra, I think, today to have it. Is that still an option with the new carriers if they, for individuals who can't physically get their trash cans up to the road?
I believe that's correct to say yes, that they're aware that those situations do exist and that there would be a provision for valet or collection for folks that might be disabled and need special attention. So I think that's correct to say that, yes.
Councilmember Jackson.
Yes, on the memo that you sent regarding the Republic Service Gateway Disposal proposal, it has a line in there, automated collection would also be required. Will that not just for what Councilmember Bertolino mentioned, but is that apply to all of the rural areas? Because as we discussed, I thought last time, we have some areas where I don't know that that's even an option based on the street.
I think in general, that is the intent, is that automated collection although it might be a little different for the rural areas and how it's done, would be required. Again, that's one of the unique things about those rural streets is there's some unique situations here and there that we would expect would continue in large part in the future, but I can't totally guarantee that either, frankly, especially with Meridian coming in as a new provider. They're going to be looking at some of those areas with a fresh set of eyes. And we don't know. And I guess I can't guarantee you with 100% certainty that all those situations will be handled the same way, frankly.
Pretty much as a rule of thumb, there would be if automatic pickup is doable at that location, it's going to get done. If not, I mean, that's a question to be had at a later date. But they said what was very firm is that they're shooting to have all automated collection regarding the circumstance. And if circumstances do come up, I do think that maybe they could take that into account depending on the rural road itself. But we can get more information there.
So I thought some of the conversation at the beginning, I thought was that some of the roads don't allow the big trucks that have the automated pickup. So it's not even that the road itself might not allow for it, but that they can't get the right truck in there to do it. So has that been addressed? You want to take it offline?
All right. Any other questions or comments regarding the proposals here? So I think you see in the packet here, we have two options that the city will have to consider. And one is with a provider who we worked with previously. And that was, I think, a couple of years back, right, Rick? When Meridian was serving the city. And then we had portion of, I guess, what is Gateway way back before that.
Yeah, we had Meridian until August 1st of 2019, essentially.
All right. Councilmember Bertolini.
Yeah, sorry, Joe, just one other quick, but we originally, what you're saying is that Meridian's proposal is still on the table, right? Right. All right, even though we said that their proposal did not meet our specs originally, right? Has that been
Yes.
modified? Tom?
Yeah, it has not been modified, but in this case, all the proposals, well, even a letter that says we're not bidding, they were all deemed unresponsive because they did not actually answer the questions of the RFP itself. There were some answers that did not actually meet the bar, or there were kind of extraneous answers that were kind of vague and not actually directed towards the city. I could get into more specific examples in the closed session, but yeah, we deemed all proposals not responsive, which gives us the ability to reject.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, well, I guess that's it there. So we'll need a motion then to go into closed session. And this would pertain to RSMO 610.021, Section 12. And so there'll be a roll call vote. And so Councilmember Farmer, you're making that motion and seconded by Councilmember Jaxi. So Michelle, can you do a roll call, please?
Chair Garitano,
Yes.
Councilmember Bertolino,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark. Yes. Councilmember Eden.
Yes.
Councilmember Farmer,
Yes.
Yes.
Hopper,
Yes.
Councilmember Jaxi.
Yes.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go over into the community room for closed session. And so we will come back once we are able to complete that discussion. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, everyone. We are back to our meeting here. So again, we still have the topic on the table right here regarding the solid waste license agreement. So at this time, we'll continue to have a discussion on that item there. So I'm going to open up to see if anyone has any either comments or want to discuss anything. Councilmember Farmer?
Yeah, I guess I'd like to, can I just make the motion or? Okay. So I would like to make the motion that we proceed forward with the proposals from Republic and Gateway. And there's been a lot of, well, that's the motion. The statement I will make is there's been a lot of conversation and thought and things that have gone into this. And at least for myself, and I think, hopefully I'm not speaking for anybody out of turn, but we have a city that is unique in its construction and it's unique in its needs. And so finding vendors that can help satisfy those needs, sometimes on an individual basis, especially in our rural areas, is an important key to what we're doing here. So the recommendation is to move forward to the city council to proceed in negotiations with Gateway and Republic.
Okay, so you're making that motion there. Is there a second on the motion? Okay, Councilmember Clark, I see you got a second there. So, did I get it right or? Okay, so therefore, again, we have now the motion on the floor. Any other discussion? Anyone wish to make any comments regarding the motion on the floor? Okay, Councilmember Edens.
I represent Ward 2, and that is an area split between both rural roads and more of the traditional urban zoning. And my ward will be split between two haulers. And I will say that my constituents do value good service above all else. And we feel confident that this proposal will bring that.
Councilmember Jackson.
So Councilmember Jaxie from Ward 6, and we will definitely be almost all rural. And I would just echo what Councilmember Edens said. We probably represent some of the hardest to get to areas. So definitely appreciate entering into a relationship with a company that I'm hoping will improve that for us.
Okay, and I'll make a comment too as well, just to echo some of the items that you mentioned here that were mentioned up here in the dais. As Councilmember Farmer started off, the unique geography presents challenges for our city. And what we have heard leads us to this solution here where we can diversify the waste hauling for our city. Diversification should in essence make it a better experience because now we'll have two providers that can work for our city. And I think that helps us out because there's a provider that can provide custom solution for a certain audience or certain set of residents, and another one that has a solution that works great for another group of residents. So I think that's key there. The other thing too that I think is very important, and our residents value customer service. That's something that we know very well on this council over the years. And, you know, looking at the options that we saw, we feel that this is a good one here. You know, we're looking for a good long-term partner for our city. This is now, I think, Rick, my second time doing this here. And, you know, we want someone that I think is going to work with our city and be a partner in providing that service to our residents here. And so we look forward to continuing to work closely with partners that are going to be able to serve these needs here. I think that's key there. And then really, I think the other thing that really plays into the decision making is just, you know, the challenges the city has faced. So knowing that this and the history of looking at who we considered, I think was key in making a decision tonight. So, all right. Well, then with that, then we'll have a motion on the floor. We'll see if the voice vote works. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone that opposes? Anyone that abstains? Okay, the motion passes. So now this will go to the full city council for consideration at the next council meeting. Do you have a comment,
Potentially, if it takes longer to get something together for that agenda, it could be something that a special council may be held.
Okay. in that
Just
case,
wanted to
then
have that
a
caveat.
Special meeting then would be posted if that's the case there. So continue to move forward through the process. But I think given our timeline, time constraints that we have, we need to keep moving forward with it. All right. So with that, then that covers all the items here on the agenda. And, we have a couple topics for discussion at a future meetings. Those are listed here. We'll not go through it. Anything under miscellaneous? Councilmember Clark.
Yes, I have two things. One was last month we heard about the possible improvements to the intersection at Strecker Road and Turnberry Place. Is that something that's going to be added to the agenda and to the strategic plan?
That
I can certainly add a few comments. Councilmember Edens may want to just mention it as well. I would expect that might well be the case. We have yet to really move forward on that. Councilmember Edens is trying to arrange a meeting still. I requested we hold off until we get a traffic count done, which has been completed last week. Trying to see if we can count the number of cars that might be sneaking through there and figure out how big they are. So what kind of vehicles is making the movement to get out or get in. So I have that count completed. I don't have the numbers back just yet. So hopefully I'll be able to report that very soon. And then we can schedule that meeting, I guess.
Thank you. KPI, the culvert placement, the 3107. Because I've got residents asking. Is that good?
And I do have an intention to respond to your email, Councilmember, but basically the direction we were headed was to look at construction for summer of 2024. In the past, when we've done these replacements of these structures on the 2-lane roads like that, the rural roads, we've tried to arrange that work to be done in the summer months, May to August, to avoid the impacts to the schools. So at this point, I think that's where we're focused on, is a project that would construct that structure at the earliest next summer. And that assumes again that we can get the easements acquired through the state parks, which is still the big question mark.
Councilmember Edens.
I was just wondering if the city has received any complaints from any residents in Prestwick Place regarding the crosswalk that they would have access to. So when we just added 2 flashing crosswalks on Strecker, although we had 3 in the original plan, we went ahead and did that because we have black easements for sidewalk expansion. At the time, I thought the argument made good sense to just proceed with 2 out of the 3. I do have a resident that has contacted me from Ward 4 that is concerned on behalf of Prestwick and has contacted individuals that live in Prestwick, although I have not heard from any of those individuals themselves. I was just wondering if the city had any complaints.
Councilmember, I have not received any complaints, frankly, since I've been with the city for 8 years now about that crosswalk. And I'm aware of that concern from the resident, but think that location is clearly not heavily utilized given the number of homes in that subdivision. And I think that should be part of the consideration. And I think from a site distance standpoint, we can double check it, but I think it's fairly well visible from a motorist perspective in that location. But to answer your question, I don't believe we've gotten complaints or requests for that to be done, frankly.
Right. There's only 10 homes. And I think our thought at the time in the previous discussion was that they could cross all the way down at Strecker and Clayton, turn around and come back up if they felt unsafe or if that was a burden to them. But I still haven't had that vocalized that it's necessary. If we have the money in the budget and we were planning for it, I mean, we can go ahead and looking at doing it. I just wondered if you had communication that I didn't have. Thank you.
Member Farmer.
Yeah, Rick, I don't know if you'll even know oh, I saw this today. They're on, I guess it's, I think it's Hollister Crossing Drive. Let me double check the street. Yeah, Hollister Crossing Drive. There is maybe what appears to be a traffic study box with an antenna sticking out of it attached to a street light. And it's been there. I noticed it again. It's been there for a while, but I didn't know what it was or if we know what's going on with that.
Councilmember, let me double check on that one. That very well may be our traffic camera. That location. I gave Brendan Maher several locations to get some counts in over the course of the spring. So we're trying to count at least once a week. We usually put it out to count midweek, Tuesday, Thursday, excuse me, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So if it's out there, it very well could be ours. I can get back to you if that's okay.
Yeah, I feel like it's been there for a little bit. So I didn't know if it was ours or just somebody else's thing.
If it's on our residential street, I can't imagine it would be somebody else's. Quite frankly, I'll check on that.
All right, seeing no other hands up, then our next meeting is Tuesday, June 6, 2023 at 5:30 p.m. And I do want to recognize Member Bertolino because this is definitely his last meeting.
Yep.
Yeah, his term concludes this coming Monday. So thank you, Dave, for your service to the city and really for being a part of the council and being a good voice for your residents. You're going to be missed tremendously, and I hope you won't go too far.
He's already called me.
You're gonna.
Yeah, he's got a few, committee appointments. But anyway, I'll talk about that. Is an ex officio member, and I come for the treats. Thank you.
So, Dave, thanks again, really, for everything and for being a good mentor as well to me. I'm sure you've done that for many people, so we'll probably still call you. All right. Well, with that, then we'll get a motion to adjourn. Councilmember Farmer and Councilmember Clark. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, meeting.